Live from Lane Gymnasium, Lane Tech boys basketball is on the air. It's a big one tonight. The Lane Tech champions look to get conference win number 2 on the season, but in their way, a Lincoln Park Lions team also looking for conference win number 2 in a matchup that will have big implications on who is going up and who is staying in the Red Northwest Conference in just a couple of weeks. Right now on the court, they are honoring the 20th anniversary of the 2003 boys basketball team here at Lane Tech, a 20-win team that won the Red North Conference. It was a very strong team back then. 20 years later, they are getting honored, and now we're going to do the national anthem, and we'll be back in just a second here from Lane Tech. There you have it, a great national anthem as always from the Lane Tech Pep Band. And with that, albeit 40 minutes late, we are almost ready for tip-off here at Lane Tech. It is the Lane Tech champions and the Lincoln Park Lions here in some Wednesday night Red Northwest Conference action here. The Lane Tech fan base in full force. They are booing the Lincoln Park Lions as they get their starting lineups announced right now. We'll run through those starting lineups real quickly for you. It'll be Ahmad Lee, Jalen Calloway, Mayan Whitfield, Dakari Durham, and Zach Israeli, your 5 for the Lincoln Park Lions. We'll have more on all 5 of those players in a couple of minutes. And as for Lane Tech, they're going to have a pretty normal starting 5 here tonight. It'll be Shahid Solivo, Parker Williams, Jackson Lavcon, Dalton Scantlebury, and Jack Sewer, your 5 on the court. Lane Tech in their all-white home uniforms. They'll be going from left to right. Lincoln Park in their away navy blue uniforms. They'll be going from right to left across your screen. Apologies for the camera quality here, folks. We had some technical difficulties pregame. We'll be trying to switch back to our more normal camera later in this game, but for now, this is what we will work with. But we mentioned it before, this is a very big matchup. Lincoln Park comes into tonight with a 1-3 conference matchup. Lane Tech 1-2. Whoever wins this will have the tiebreaker if it comes to that when it comes to regulating teams into the white conference next year. And this is just a very big matchup. Lane Tech has won 2 in a row against Lincoln Park, but before that, Lincoln Park had won 5 in a row. So this has been a series of streaks. Lane Tech in the last 17 matchups against Lincoln Park has never won 3 in a row. So this will be a big one here tonight to see if the champions can finally do that against their opponents from just a little ways away here as we get ready for tip-off. It'll be Dalton Scantlebury in the center alongside Dakari Durham. As the whistle blows and we're ready for conference action from Lane Gymnasium. Dalton Scantlebury in the circle. He jumps a little bit too early here. Second time is up and we are underway from Lane Tech. Shahid Solibo hands it off to Jackson Lavcon, and we are underway here at Lane Gymnasium. Lane Tech looking to win their 2nd in a row after defeating Schurz just a couple of weeks ago. Jack Soar with it near the top of the key. This is a Lincoln Park team on a little bit of a losing streak. They have played a very strong schedule this year as Lavcon tries to bank in the first shot of the night. Can't get it to go, but a nice rebound here from Solibo. Bouncing along on the ground, and the freshman point guard Ahmad Lee comes up with it, and an early, I think, foul is going to be called here, or they just said it went out of bounds. So actually, there'll be Lane Tech basketball, and the champions will get another shot at taking the early lead here. 0-0, 7:20 to go in the first quarter of action. Williams from the free throw line misses a shot. Bringing down the rebound there will be Zach Israeli, the senior 6'3" power forward / center. You won't see a lot of players listed at those positions as a 6'3" player, but Israeli has that skill set of a forward, as Lane Tech gets another nice call here out of bounds on Lincoln Park, and they will still look to take the lead here, 0-0 with 7:04 to go. Apologies, folks, no score bug here tonight. We had some technical difficulties, as we mentioned pregame, but we'll try to keep you updated on score and time as much as possible here tonight, as Labcon gets it on the pass across midcourt. We were originally slotted for a 5 p.m. tip-off here. Lincoln Park left their jerseys at school, though, so they had to have a person go back, get their uniforms, and then come back to here at Lane Tech. That is why we are starting late, as Salibo misses a 3. For those of you who follow college basketball, a similar thing happened between Texas A&M and Florida when the Aggies left their uniforms at the hotel on an away game. They had to delay the start of that game. In that one, there was a technical foul dealt. However, that is not the case here tonight. They started the game at 0-0, and that is still where we are at. 6.5 to play here in quarter number 1 of play, as Ahmad Lee works his way on the left-hand side. Now a 3-ball from Israeli. That's off the front of the rim, and some troubles shooting here early on for both of these squads. Lee, a very impressive player, very interesting player here to watch, as Salido gets to the basket and gets it to fall for his first points of the night, and it's a 2-0 Lane Tech lead here with 6:08 to go in the first quarter. So finally breaking the scoring tie here is the champions. They get the first bucket of the night, and now we'll see Lee trying for a quick response and can't get the bouncer to go. Bringing down the rebound there with Scantlebury, and Jack Soar will push things up the court here for the champions. Labcon out to Salibo. Thought about the 3, and they're going to call a travel there. So a rare mistake here for the star for Lane Tech, Shahid Salibo. He's coming off a 10-point performance earlier this year against Schurz. He's the second leading scorer for the champions that game, behind Parker Williams, number 23, who we just saw defending the ball carrier, as a big block here from Dalton Scantlebury. Lane Tech in transition for the first time here tonight. Labcon pushes it out, and a second travel called here tonight for the champions. Looks like Labcon slipped a little bit there. It's very hot here in Lane Gymnasium tonight, a very big crowd. You have to wonder if the court will get slippery at all. Lane Tech a couple years ago playing against Taft at Taft actually had to have a game postponed because the court got so wet with condensation from the players and the crowded fans. So we'll see if the slippage comes into play anymore here tonight, as working his way from the center is Mayan Whitfield. Gives it to Lee. Lee's had the ball every single possession, and missing the 2 there is Durham, but gets the second chance shot. And we're all tied up at 2 here with 5 minutes to play in the first quarter. Some nice defense there from Salibo. Pushes it out of bounds, and, oh, excuse me, no, that went off of Salibo, it looked like there. So the Lions are going to get possession right back after scoring, and they'll have a chance to take their first lead of the night. The 3-ball off the mark there from Callaway, and Salibo will slow down the fast pace of this game, which we've been at early on. Takes it to the basket all by himself. That finishes. Second basket of the night for Shahid Salibo. He has all 4 of Lane's points with 4.5 to play here in quarter number 1. Lee's been held scoreless here early on. The freshman guard, head coach Antoine Jennings, had very positive things to say. He didn't start the year as a starter, but had some big performances, as Israeli with a nothing but net 3 there for the Lions to put them up by 1. That's their first lead of the night here, 5-4 with 4:11 to go. And now we see a little bit of a press from the Lions. Salido is going to get fouled. For a second there, it looked like Lane was going to get called for their 3rd travel of the game. The referees will not do that to them, though, and instead it will be their possession near midcourt. 4:06 to go. They trail 5-4 here early on against the Lincoln Park Lions. Not exactly what we were expecting here in this matchup. The Lions holding their own early against Lane Tech. Lebo tries to drive on the right-hand side, loses it, gets it back, now rolls it to Scantlebury, who gets fouled underneath the basket, and the big man for Lane Tech will head to the line for the first time tonight. This is the first free throws we have seen all night long for either one of these squads, and it'll be Scantlebury looking to tie this one up and possibly take the early lead here for the champions. 3:47 to go. Foul was called there on Dakari Durham, his first of the night for Lincoln Park as a team. Scantlebury's been one of the more consistent free throw shooters this year for the champions as he hits his first one to tie this back up at 5. Over 4 minutes of play into this one. That's the first point scored for Lane Tech by a player not named Shahid Salibo. Lane's had the most success this year when they've really balanced out their scoring effort. They're going to need to do that to compete against this Lincoln Park team tonight. Scantlebury goes 1 for 2 from the line, and it'll be Whitfield, Mayan Whitfield, one of the returning stars on this Lincoln Park team with the ball in his hands. Tries to drive, has a very nice looking jumper, but misses that one there. Lee passes it off into the corner, and now they'll reset the offense. It's a very interesting Lincoln Park team, mix of young and old. They have some JV guys that go back and forth between playing at the JV level and the varsity level as a charge taken here by Dalton Scantlebury. They'll mark the foul on Dakari Durham as the 6'6" senior gets called for his first foul of the night. But that will be the third on the night for the Lions. As Lorenzo Aquino checks in, first substitute of the night. He comes in for Parker Williams. We see a full court press coming here for the Lions. 5-5, 3:15 to go here in quarter number 1. Scantlebury gives it to Jack Soar, who will take it across the court by himself with ease. A packed crowd here, not many open seats in sight on the opposite side of the gymnasium here at Lane Tech. They get to Scantlebury, back to Salibo. 3 minutes now on the clock. Some good ball movement here from the champions with Aquino coming into the game, and another foul is going to be called here on the Lions. So the fouls racking up early against Lincoln Park, and they are now just 3 fouls away from putting Lane Tech into the bonus. That was the second one called on Mayan Whitfield. And that is a big foul. They're getting one of the stars on this Lincoln Park team into foul trouble early as a travel's called on Dalton Scantlebury, the third tonight for Lane Tech. We've seen one called against Labcon, one against Scantlebury, one against Salibo. So 3 of the 5 starters for Lane Tech have been marked early on with a traveling call as Dylan Pepper gets ready to enter the game soon. Whitfield punches it in the corner. Israeli from 3 again. Can't make this one, but gets his own defense. Jack Soar blew his coverage for a second there, and because of it, it'll be a second chance for the Lions. Spin move in the post, and finishing with the points is Justice Berry. If he looks tall on camera, I can guarantee you looks even taller in person, 6'8", and Barry gets his first score of the night to put his team up 7-5, 2:20 now to go in the first quarter. Jack Soar tried to drive, a foul and a big block there from Shahid Salibo. They'll say possession goes to the Lions, but a monster block there from Shahid Salibo. Dylan Pepper checks into the game alongside Vincent Kelly, another one of these young stars, but some big electric blocks here first from Dalton Scantlebury, now from Shahid Salibo. That's kept 4 points off the scoreboard here for the Lions early on. Lincoln Park with a 7-5 lead, 2:14 to go here in the first quarter. It's now a freshman-sophomore backcourt into the game right now for Lincoln Park with Vincent Kelly, the sophomore, 5'8", and Ahmad Lee, the freshman, 6'2". Have a lot of guys who bounce back across JV and varsity level as Pepper almost gets a steal here. Instead, it'll be Barry punching it out to Israeli, and they'll reset the offense. Salibo almost with a steal, but coming up with it is Lee, who pulls for 3, and he misses again. He's been cold shooting early on, has no points through the first 6 minutes of play as a cutting Pepper gets it down low, and another travel's called. That is travel number 4 against Lane Sec. None for Lincoln Park here, and that has kept a lot of points off the scoreboard here for the champions early on. As we'll see some early substitutions. Shahid Salibo comes out of the game, Jack Zor comes out of the game, and Parker Williams will return alongside Drew Bartoli, the sophomore, making his first appearance here of the first quarter. 1:49 to go, a 7-5 lead for Lincoln Park here at Lane Sec on Alumni Night. It'll be Vincent Kelly taking the ball up the court, drives right-hand side, and another charge is going to be called here. Not sure who took that one, as we didn't see any lane players fall to the ground. However, they will call it. That's team foul number 5 here on the Lions, and now Lane Tech just 2 fouls away from being put into the bonus in the first quarter. Lee with a steal on the risky pass there from Aquino. We saw Lane Tech with some strong passing out of the gate. Since then, there's been some reckless throws from Lane Tech, passing and shot-wise, as another block here. We'll see if they call a foul. They do. Labcon looking around, very surprised. Not sure if him or Pepper would have been credited with that block. However, it is going to be free throws for the Lions as they look to extend the lead past 2 for the first time tonight. They have not had a 2-possession lead yet tonight. However, if they do convert both these free throws, they will get that, as the first shot no good off the front of the rim. 1:27 to go here in the first quarter. 7-5 Lincoln Park with the lead over Lane. Thanks for joining us. Alex Burstein on the call here from Lane Tech. Seen some struggles shooting from both of these teams as Kelly converts the second of 2 free throws, puts the lead up to 3, and we'll see if Lane Tech has a response. Aquino gives it to Labcon. He missed a shot this time, takes it to the hoop, and finishes with the score. Jackson Labcon gets on the scoreboard for the first time tonight and cuts it to a 1-point deficit with just over a minute to play, a minute and change in quarter number 1. We've seen contributions from a fair amount of Lincoln Park players early on. Now we'll see if Lane Tech can get in the rhythm of doing that, as this one goes off the body of Vincent Kelly there, and the champions will get it back with a chance to take the lead. 54.8 seconds to go. I was listening to the No Shot Clock podcast from the Sun-Times on high school basketball earlier today. They were talking about, Joe Hendrickson was talking about how he's noticed recently in these late quarter situations, as a turnover here by Labcon, how different it is playing with the shot clock and the no shot clock. And seeing Lane Tech play in a couple shot clock events, could not agree more. In a situation like this, in a showcase event, you might see Lane Tech pushing for a quick 2 or Lincoln Park. Instead, there's a good chance here the Lions are going to be able to take a decent amount of time off the clock. Looks like Lee trying to waste no time, though. He misses the 2. Fighting for the rebound is Pepper and Kelly, but somehow Aquino will come up with it. But he throws it away, falling out of bounds. 30 seconds to go here, and we'll finally get a travel called against Lincoln Park. So now 5 travels called between the 2 squads here in the first quarter, as they send in Shahid Solibo and Dalton Scantlebury with 28.2 seconds to go for Dylan Peppers and Jackson Labcon. It's interesting they put a big in here for the last play of the quarter. Makes you think they may not be trying for a shooting play, as a pushing foul is going to be called here against Dalton Scantlebury. A very aggressive effort there from Samaji Howard. He's had some big games, scored 16 against Washington in the first week of the season, and gets a big turnover here. And they check Scantlebury out of the game after he draws his second foul. Now 3 on the half for the champions. Israeli gets it, 23 seconds on the clock. They throw it in the corner, and another travel is going to be called. That's up to 6 called between the 2 teams here today, 2 in the last minute. And I think a timeout's going to be called here. No, they're just going to let the subs come in. So Howard checks back into the game. He was out for a quick second there alongside Vincent Kelly. So a lot of last-minute substitutions here. 20 seconds on the clock as Lane Tech takes over possession. Springer gets to an open Aquino. We'll see if Lane holds for a final shot. as a foul called against the 6'8 Barry here. It was interesting, looking through the Twitter last night of Barry, it looked like for a second there he was maybe going to transfer to a prep school for this season. However, he is back playing with Lincoln Park, must have not gone through with the move, and he is a big help to this team as Aquino tries to play it in the post. It bounces off of him. 10 seconds left in the half to the basket. Drew Bartoli gets the flying layup, and the champions take back the lead 9-8 with 3 seconds. One last shot here, possibly from Lee. He throws it up. Shot probably won't count. Even if it does go in, it won't, and that will bring us to the end of 1 quarter of play. Low scoring, exciting affair here early on at Lane Gymnasium. It's a 9-8 lead for the champions over Lincoln Park as we enter quarter number 2 of action. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Lane Tech Boys Basketball here on the Lane Tech Athletics YouTube channel. We enter quarter number 2 of play here at Lane Gymnasium. A 9-8 lead for the champions, but still very much anyone's game here. We saw 4 early points from Shahid Salibo, and then the scoring kind of mellowed out for the champions, and the Lions really just were not able to go on any runs. They had the lead for a little bit there near the end of the first quarter, but a late layup by Drew Bartoli, who has not been a big scorer at all for the champions this season, gives the champions back the lead, and that is where things will stand as we enter quarter number 2 of play. It'll be Braden Rosenkrantz, Shahid Salibo, Parker Williams, Dylan Pepper, and Drew Bartoli, your 5 on the court. Rosenkrantz playing in front of his brother, Will Rosenkrantz, one of the alumni in attendance here tonight, as the floater off the mark there. Just mistimed it there by Vincent Kelly, and they're going to call it a tie-up. Jump ball and possession will go back to the champions. So with 7:52 to go, the champions will get back possession here in quarter number 2 of play. Champions have not had a lead more than 3 or 4 points here early on. It's been very back and forth. The Lions have not had a 2-possession lead either, and it really seems like we are just 1 or 2 baskets away made in a row from one of these teams taking control. But 8-9 minutes in, we just have not seen either team really with the authority to do that. We've seen some sloppy mistakes on both of these squads. As another turnover here, they dish it down low, and the 2 no good. A missed shot there by Jalen Calloway over ripping the ball out of the hands of Pepper there is Vincent Kelly. And I know the coaching staff here from Lane Tech not happy with the effort here from the champions, especially right when they're getting the ball. We saw that 2 times on that possession for Lane Tech. They had the ball just ripped out of their hands. No fouls called, and because of that, the Lions have a chance to tie this one up, which they won't do on the first shot from Vincent Kelly. He's now 1 for 3 on the night from the free throw line, and we'll even it out at 2 for 4 as he evens out our game here. 9-9 with 7:42 to play here in quarter number 2. So they bounce the pass into Parker Williams, and Drew Bartoli was just wide open there. Bartoli misses an open. Rosenkrantz takes it by himself, and the Euro step around Jakari Durham for the finish. Wow, we have not seen Drew Bartoli play like this yet this season. He has kind of a new authority in his step here tonight. 2 early baskets for him, and the Champions League back out to 2. This is a very different looking lineup than usual, as a 3 ball off the mark there from Bartoli, but Rosenkrantz pulls down the rebound, who airballs his 3 attempt, and the Lions will get it back trailing by 2 a minute into this quarter number 2 of play. driving the baseline, and I think he stepped out of bounds. The referees will agree. Mayan Whitfield with another error there for the senior, and the champions will get possession back. Still up by 2, 6:59 to play here in quarter number 2. Bartolai's been standing at midcourt these last couple of times. They have not picked up on him yet as Williams misses one of his first three-point attempts of the night. Here comes the transition offense, and I think they're going to say goaltending. They will. That would have been a very good chase down block there by Drew Bartolai, but the basket will count from Durham. Oh, maybe they actually called a foul there because that was not Durham. That was, I believe, Chase Turner. Now they're going to change it back. So they will count as goaltending. That will tie the game up, but there's not going to be a foul called. 11-11, 6:40 to go. They break the press through Rosenkrantz. Bartolai thought about the three, and that will be travel number 5 called on the night. I've not been keeping track of travels all season long, but I have to imagine this is a season high for the champions as Labcon checks into the game for Bartolai. We've seen head coach Nicholas Legalbo pacing up and down the bench a couple of times here tonight. Obviously not super pleased with the performance of his team here early on. There's definitely been some high spots, but there's been some lows as well. We're all tied at 11, 6:20 to play in the second quarter. The shot no good there from Whitfield, who is still held scoreless with 2 fouls here in the second quarter. Williams almost heaved up a three and says it's going to be the big man Pepper who can't finish. Three ball has not been friendly here tonight for the champions. And now Williams airballs another shot. See if Solibo can complete it, and he can. Shahid Solibo, just as we're talking about the lack of threes for the champions, hits one. On the other end, it'll be a quick attempt from Justice Berry, and he will head to the line to try to eke back into this one. Now a 3-point lead for the champions. Berry with 2 points here early on. Very versatile big man. Just based on his size alone, you know he has a future at the college level as he misses the first free throw off the front of the rim. Lane Sack has only faced a handful, if even that, of players this year at his height. Come across one of these very big bigs every couple of games. As Berry goes 1 for 2 from the line, he'll check out of the game immediately as Tyshawn Robinson, the 6'2 sophomore forward, checks into the game. We talked about earlier on just how this is a young team mixed with some veteran talent. Talking with head coach Antoine Jennings, he was just saying they have one of the best JV teams in the squad. I think they're 1 loss on the season as Labcon hits his second shot tonight to put the champions up by 4. It's going to be a very bright couple of years coming forward for the Lions, but this year, even now, they've started to bring up some of these JV guys to the varsity level. You've heard Vincent Kelly's name called a lot as down low, the quick 2 off the mark. Lee tries to bring down the rebound, and a jump ball is going to be called. Possession stays with the Lions, it looks like here, but it's been a winning strategy sometimes. They've had a couple of big wins. They're 3-10 here. But as of recent, they've seen the scores kind of get closer. They only lost by 14 to St. Rita, one of the top teams in the state. So seeing some signs of progress here for the Lions. We'll see if they can put it all together here tonight. The 3 ball on its way, drained from Chase Turner. Sophomore just checked into the game a little while ago. He hits the 3. Now 5 points on the night for him. Down low, Williams with a quick 2, and now we're finally getting the offenses back up and rolling. 4:50 to go here in the second quarter. And we've seen both teams almost match their first quarter point totals as a step back dirty 3 there by Vincent Kelly. The 3's raining here for the visitors as they cut this one to a tie game, 18-18 with 4.5 to play. Rosenkrantz loses it. Now it's going to be Chase Turner in transition. Takes it himself, goes up around Jack Soar and finishes with the 2. That's 3 straight baskets on 3 possessions for Lincoln Park as they get back in this one. Williams can't finish what would have been an acrobatic 2 there. And instead it'll be Vincent Kelly coming out of the pile with the ball. Whitfield can't finish the shot. That's been the one bright spot defensively here for Lane Tech. They've held Whitfield to not a lot of scoring, but making up for it has been Justice Berry. 5 points from him, 7 from Chase Turner, and then Kelly's facilitated very well as another travel is going to be called. That's travel number 6 now on Lane Tech. Second one called tonight against Saliba with 3:47 to go here in quarter number 2 of play, and another timeout's going to be called here by Lincoln Park. 30-second timeout. That's their second timeout called here today. So the Lions burning through a couple of, or excuse me, that's going to be their first timeout. They almost called one at the end of the first quarter, ended up not doing it. So they're going to lose their first timeout with 3:47 to go here in the second quarter. Very interesting game we have here. 20-18 the lead for the Lincoln Park Lions. Just under halfway to go here in the second quarter here on Alumni Night at Lane Gymnasium. Coming up at halftime, we'll have a ceremony as the 1929 City Championship Trophy returns back home to Lane Gymnasium. It's a long time ago. Lane Tech obviously has not won a city title in a long time. They were in the past one of the powerhouses of the public league, and the long lost trophy will be returned here to the confines of Lane Tech here coming up at halftime. But back to our game action. It's going to be Lincoln Park basketball on the court for them right now. It's Kelly, Whitfield. Israeli just checked into the game alongside Turner and Tyshawn Robinson. So you have a lot of young talent on the court right now. There's been some contributions less than expected from players like Whitfield, like Callaway, but they've made up for a couple of surprising performances. Players like Kelly playing really well here as Scantlebury pulls down another rebound here. Labcon will push things up the court. Williams gets quickly to the basket and finishes with his second score of the night. And we're all tied up at 20-20. If you look at just the records for this one, 3-10 for Lincoln Park, 6-7 for Lane Tech. You may assume Lane had the big edge in this one as Salido takes the turnover, but if you look at the scores and look more closely at the players that make up this team, you would have expected this game to be pretty close as a turnover here through the hands of Jack Soar. And that is exactly what we are seeing here early on as Callaway checks into the game here for Robinson. 3:01 to play, all knotted up at 20 here at Lane Gymnasium. Lane's been stuck at 6 fouls against them for a few minutes now. They were very close to being put in the bonus, but these last couple of minutes, it's been much cleaner basketball being played by Lincoln Park. Lane with 5 fouls, so Lincoln Park 2 fouls away from being sent to the bonus as Kelly punches it out. Israeli has 1-3, make it 2. 6 points tonight for the power forward / center who's been playing around the perimeter. And he puts his Lions team back up by 3 here. 2.5 to play in the first half. Salido works underneath the paint, loses the basket. He fell hard to the ground there, wanted a foul, won't get it. Instead, to the basket, finishing with the score is Jalen Callaway. Just as we say, the senior guard was quiet. The shooting guard comes in and gets a quick 2. He's used to playing competitive basketball, plays with Mac Irvin Fire for AAU, and gets a big 2 to put his team up by 5. I believe that's the biggest it has been here tonight for the Lions, and we'll see what Lane Tech's response is. We'll see Drew Bartoli check into the game. This is a different looking lineup than we have seen these last couple of games. Bartoli has really not been part of their rotation these last few weeks for Lane Tech. He has 4 points early on, though, and has done a good job just running past this Lincoln Park offense, as it is going to be 1-1 now as the Lane Tech reaches the bonus with a 7th foul called. This one against Callaway, his first of the night. Williams, Scantlebury, Bartoli, Tsor, and Labcon, your 5 on the court. The latter 2 in the backcourt right now as Williams gets the quick 2. Nice job there by Scantlebury, not giving up on the play. And Lane Tech cuts into this one. Now they're within 3, under 2 to play in quarter number 2. Lane's controlled the lead and therefore has controlled the pace for most of today. The last couple of minutes, it's been the Lions in control. We'll see if Lane can take back some momentum on their home court here late in quarter number 2 as this pass flies out of bounds. Too fast there from Williams from Lavcon. And a lot of these wounds self-inflicted from Lane Tech here tonight. There has been some competitive defense, some nice full court pressing from Lincoln Park, but a lot of times we have just seen mistakes that you don't usually see out of this Lane Tech squad. 6 travels called against them a couple times, 2 times in the last minute or so. They've just thrown it out of bounds, and that's really shot themselves in the foot here early on. 25-22, they trail, 70 seconds left, and a long 3 drain there from Callaway. From Whitfield. He gets his first shot of the night. That is one way to silence a crowd. Williams looking to get back to 2. He gets it, and it will be a 4-point lead. 1 minute to go in the half, and it looks like Kelly, who's run the point now for most of the second quarter, is going to slow down his offense. I don't know if they'll hold for a final shot or not. They won't. 3 on its way off the mark, but getting the rebound there is Chase Turner, who 7 points, some big rebounds, some nice play on defense. Chase Turner has been kind of the standout player, I would argue, here tonight. Very athletic wing/guard type player. He's shown that as Shahid Saliba is going to check into the game. 33 and a half seconds left here in the second period. So they send it way back here to Whitfield, who will slowly bring things up the court. Half a minute and counting now to go in the second quarter. Lincoln Park will almost definitely head into the locker room with the lead, but they would love to increase it past 4. Saliba on the tight defense. He's going back and forth. Looks like Lane Tech has worked their way into a zone as Whitfield takes the entire defense to the basket, but it looks like a block there from Scantlebury. 4 seconds. Williams pulls for 3. Can't get to go. Rebounding at Jack Shore, who does not get a shot off. And that will bring us to the end of one half of play. And Lincoln Park very much deserves that. They outplayed Lane Tech there in the second quarter. They really limited the fouls that they had. They limited the turnovers that they had. Lane Tech did not do that, and because of that, it is going to be a 4-point lead for the Lions heading into this halftime break. I believe there's going to be the ceremony here in a second, as well as some performances. So we're going to turn our mic now to the PA address announcer, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes to recap the first half and get you ready for what should be an exciting second 16 minutes of action here from Lane Gymnasium. Just a quick program note, it's going to be 15 minutes instead of 10 minutes for halftime today because of the added ceremony. Don't go anywhere. Your halftime score from Lane Tech. It is the champions 24, the Lincoln Park Lions 28 here at Lane Tech. Halftime from Lane Gymnasium. It's a 28-24 lead for the Lincoln Park Lions over the Lane Tech champions here at Lane Gymnasium. Thanks for joining us. My name's Alex Burstein. A nice halftime performance is from the Lane Tech cheer and dance team, as well as the return of the 1929 City Championship trophy here to Lane Tech. Not sure how much of that ceremony you guys could hear, but the Barnacle family, will read some more up on them and read more of this program here for you in the second half. But it was the son of Carl Barnacle, who was a PE teacher and one of the longest serving athletic directors. Carl Barnacle, the son, brought the scholarship to Lane for athletes and returned the championship trophy here tonight. So a pretty cool moment here at Lane Tech just a couple of minutes ago. Lincoln Park comes out of their locker room just as halftime is expiring, so no team is really going to have a chance to get any warm-up shots. It will be Jack Zor, Dalton Scansbury, Jackson Labcon, Parker Williams, and Jahid Solivo, your five on the court for Lane Tech to start off this second half. We'll read you through the scoring for Lane Tech. There wasn't a lot of it. 7 for Jahid Solivo, 4 for Jubar Tolai, 4 for Jackson Labcon, 1 for Dalton Scansbury, and 8 for Parker Williams. Williams leads all scorers here as we enter the second half. 2 for Jalen Calloway, 5 for Vincent Kelly, 3 for Mayan Whitfield, 2 for Justin Berry, 8 for Chase Turner, 2 for Dakari Durham, and 6 for Zach Israeli. 7 for Chase Turner as we enter quarter number 2 here. Half number 2 here from Lane Tech. It will be champions possession going from right to left in their white uniforms as we start off this second half of play. And for those of you just joining us, the story really of that first half, air after air after air for Lane Tech. They had 6 travels call a few times, and we're talking more than 2 or 3 here, where Lane just threw it out of bounds, and they just could not make it past this Lincoln Park full court press. We'll see if they were able to fix those errors in the locker room, and we'll see what type of Lane Tech team comes out of the locker room here. Labcon with the 10-foot floater gets his own rebound. Solivo can't hit the three. That would have been a big momentum booster there for the champions, but they cannot get it to fall. 7.5 now to play in the third quarter. Vincent Kelly, who was one of the breakout players in the first half, misses his first shot attempt here in quarter number 3 and will remain scoreless in the second half. 40 seconds into quarter number 3 here. Hasn't been really a high-scoring affair for either one of these squads. Both teams got close to 20 points scored as a travel called here against Jack Soar. That is now 7 travels called against Lane Sack. You can see head coach Nicholas Segalbo get a little angrier every time that happens. There's been just 2 called against Lincoln Park, which is probably, I'd say, the norm we've seen for teams Lane Tech has faced against this year, but 7 against Lane Tech, very uncharacteristic. This is not saying that Lane Tech is a team that doesn't make any errors, as Scantlebury gets called for the foul, and it will be Whitfield finishing the and one to put the lead up to 6, the largest it's been here tonight, 30-24 with 6:45 to go here. I think we kind of jinxed it. We were saying Whitfield had a quiet night, and then as soon as we said that, he hit a big 3. Now he has another 2 to add to his total. That's the 3rd foul on Dalton Scantlebury, we should mention, as Whitfield will look to finish the 3-point play. And he will do so. It's been a very quiet night for Dalton Scantlebury. Aside from those fouls, just 1 point scored. He had kind of a quiet game against Schurz, 5 points, all of them in the second half. His last big game came against St. Ignatius. He had 15 points. There was a point in this season where there was 6 or 7 straight games where he was scoring 15 plus every single night for the champions. Kind of slowed down as of recent, as Williams pushes it to Shahid Salibo, fakes the 3, got Israeli jumping but can't finish the 2. Pepper there though for the putback, and cuts into this lead now, 31-26 with 6.5 minutes to play. No one leaving their seats yet. Still a very nice crowd on hand, as Whitfield will get the charge called against him. A nice charge taken there by Jack Soar. That's the 3rd one called here tonight against Lincoln Park, as the first foul of the half gets called against the Lions. That, we should mention, is the 3rd foul against Whitfield. So now one of the stars for both these teams, Scantlebury for the champions and Whitfield for the Lions, up to 3 fouls. You get 5 here at the high school level, as Salibo tries to draw the foul, won't get it, but it's going to go out of bounds anyways. So Lane Tech will keep possession. Jack Soar on the court alongside Salibo, Williams, Pepper, and Labcon, as Salibo misses his second 3-point attempt of the half here. It'll be the Lions in transition, and a blocking foul called here against Dylan Pepper. A delayed reaction there from the referee, but that does mean it's going to be an and one for Chase Turner. Count the basket, and we'll see if he can finish the 3-point play. So it'd be the second 3-point play in the first 2 minutes of this half. This Lions team has came out of the half energetic, and they will take an 8-point lead now with that free throw, the largest it's been tonight, 34-26, 6 minutes to play. Pepper trying to break the press. Lane Tech has struggled with this greatly, and I know our camera angle doesn't show the whole court, but just to kind of show this to you guys, next time they come, Lincoln Park is really trapping Lane Tech right around the paint, but it's left the half-court line pretty wide open. They've had Israeli and Whitfield playing pretty far back, so Lane Tech really just needs to send 1 or 2 guys to around midcourt, and they should be able to break this press with ease. We saw them do it a couple of times with Drew Bartoli. Now it's stopped as the first shot made here by Chase Turner. And a timeout's going to be called for Lane Tech after that first free throw, 35-26. Lincoln Park close to extending this to a double-digit lead. It's a full timeout called for Lane Tech. So now 4 timeouts left for both these squads. And, you know, it's definitely a little surprising what we have seen here. Lane Tech, I expected it to be a close game. I knew Lincoln Park was going to contend in this one, but just really, I did not expect either team to get out to a 9-point game. For those of you watching in the first half, it was a game of just back and forth scoring. Neither team really went on any runs throughout the first half, but now we're seeing Lincoln Park kind of start to break this one open. Lane Tech has came out of the gate looking the same that they did in the first half, and those airs are starting to count up for the champions as they trail 35-26 with 5:54 to go in quarter number 3 of play. It'll be Chase Turner returning to the line. He has 8 points. He comes back onto the court alongside Kelly Whitfield, Israeli, as well as Jalen Calloway, who is on the court, Whitfield on the court with 3 fouls. There's only been 1 foul called on this half against Lincoln Park, 3 called against the champions. So really nothing going the way of Lane Tech here early on. They've only scored 2 points in the first 2+ minutes of play, and we'll see if they can turn it around after this second free throw attempt from Chase Turner. Doing some scouting on him. They said he just has an ability to put the ball in the basket. That's exactly what we have seen here tonight. He's found a couple different ways to score. Most recently from the free throw line, and he is at 9 points to tie the leading scorer, and a foul's going to be called here against Jack Soar. Looked like from our angle, another travel is going to be called as Jack Soar, I think, lifted up his pivot foot there, but they say the foul was called before that, and it will be Lane Tech possession here. Still struggling to break this full court press that the Lions have put on. They're going to inbound it to Pepper. Still no one really near the midcourt line for the champions. They put Salibo there, and he dribbles across midcourt with ease. Just 7 points for Shahid Salibo. Jack Soar misses the 3-point attempt. 4 of those coming in the first quarter for Lane Tech's star. We'll see if he can get any scoring going here in the second quarter. And a jump ball is going to be called after a long tumble on the ground there between Pepper and Calloway. It's what you want to see if you're Lane Tech, I guess. Some more effort, getting those jump balls and whatnot. Not sure which way the arrow points here. The referee's talking with players from both of the teams here, and it will be Lincoln Park possession. And looks like they might have actually called a foul there. So it's Lincoln Park ball. The scoreboard is showing a 4-foul call against Whitfield. We'll see if that stands. But at the moment, the senior leader for this Lincoln Park team is having some serious foul trouble. Now the referees are going to slow things down. They're trying to add Damian Pearson. I was wondering if this was going to be a problem. They did not let him into the game. I think it may be because he was not originally on their roster. Pearson and Jalen Dickerson were both added to the lineup late, right when Lincoln Park got here. It looks like they were added to the roster. And they will not let Pearson come into the game right now with a 10-point lead for the Lions. As Callaway breaks the press, and Israeli will get it top the key to Kelly. Kelly wide open to the basket, finishes with the 2, and the lead now up to 12. Lane Tech crowd, which has been standing for most of tonight, has taken a seat. There's been silenced here as Williams can't finish the and one, but will head to the line. He has 8 points. He's the leading scorer for Lane Tech, can get to double-digit marks. Surprisingly, even with the big lead for Lincoln Park, there's not a single player in double digits yet tonight. Lincoln Park has 2 players with 9 in the form of Whitfield as well as Turner. As Williams makes the first shot of 2, so he's in that territory now with 9 points. We'll see if he can get to 10. Lincoln Park trying to break a 2-game losing streak. Losses to St. Rita and Hammond at the Proviso West Holiday Tournament. I think Lincoln Park kind of woke up the area when they defeated Proviso West, a team that has some good young talent in the first round of the Proviso West tournament. So they knocked off the host in the first game of that pretty prestigious tournament as the floater no good, brought down by Jack Soar. And since then, despite those 2 losses, we've seen some growth out of this Lincoln Park team, and they're really putting it all together here tonight, 38-28. They've been knocking on the door of a big conference win. They lost by Westinghouse by 3. They lost by North Lawndale by 8. So actually by 8. So they're like 11 points away from being 3-1 in conference play. Their only double-digit conference loss coming to Orr. So this is a Lincoln Park team that's been kind of hard to read this year. And they're trying to have a resurgence for the second half of this regular season. Labcon gets it front court back to Williams. Lane Tech in a bit of a scoring drought here. Just 4 points through the first 3.5 minutes of the third quarter. Labcon with the jumper. Beautiful shot there from the St. Ignatius transfer. He's up to 6 points here tonight. And shots in high school basketball do not get much prettier than that. That one fell perfectly through the baskets. And now just an 8-point game. Kelly trying for the fancy finish. Can't get it to go. This one goes off the leg of Shahid Solibo. And Lincoln Park will luckily keep possession there. Last year it was a 65-51 lead win for Lane Tech over Lincoln Park, as this one goes off the hands of Turner. It's a second straight win for the champions over the Lions. Before that, though, it was, 6, not 5 straight wins for Lincoln Park. They've controlled this series, have won 12 of the last 17. Look for a second there like Lane was turning the corner in this rivalry. We'll see if they can get that third straight win, which we said they have not done in the last 17 games here tonight. Jack Zor, wide open 3, misses it. His second 3-point miss of the half. We've seen 4 combined missed threes from him and Solibo. 3:40 to go here in quarter number 3. Driving the baseline, turnaround jumper is Whitfield, and an excellent job there by Jack Zor. Got 2 hands on the ball for the jump ball. And possession will go back to the champions here. So we've seen a lot of jump balls called here. Timeout called by Lane Tech, a 30-second timeout, their second here of the game. They will have 3 for the rest of this game. And, you know, for a second there, it was all Lincoln Park. I won't say Lane Tech has taken back the momentum, but they have at least slowed down the momentum of this Lincoln Park squad. Lincoln Park went on a, 6-0, maybe an 8-0 run. It was broken up by, I think, a Williams 2, maybe right before or right after. But they were able to get that double-digit lead. Lane Tech has gotten it back to single digits, and that's what Lane Tech is going to need here as they try to work their way back from this 3 or 4 possession deficit they have found themselves in. Interesting, we have not seen the likes of Keyshawn Barfield get this game for Lincoln Park, the 6'10 sophomore center. You might see him on the bench there for Lincoln Park. He's by far the tallest player on the court, 2 inches taller than Justice Berry, if you believe that. But we have not seen Barfield used much today, and we have not seen we have not seen Barfield used at all. We've not seen Berry used much. Berry is about to check back into the game as Lorenzo Aquino comes into the game for Labcon. It will be Pepper, Williams, Solibo, Aquino, and Jack Zor on the court. Anselberry still stuck on the bench with just 1 point and 3 fouls. 3.5 to play here in quarter number 3. 38-30, the lead for the Lincoln Park Lions over the host Lane Tech here, as Williams almost loses it. Israeli fighting for it, and I think they say he was out of bounds with possession. They will say that. So Chase Turner, for rare air, we've not seen a lot out of him air-wise here tonight. But the champions will get possession back as Israeli checks out of the game for Berry. 3:26 now to play. Williams, the lone double-digit scorer here tonight. Solibo was wide open, but Jack Zor could not hear him. The gymnasium has been very loud, especially with the band. Band just left, but with the fans here tonight, and I think Solibo just was not loud enough for Jack Zor to hear there, as a 5th foul of the half is going to be called against the Lincoln Park Lions. Kelly checks out of the game. The foul was called on Turner, his first. There are also 3 fouls on Vincent Kelly now. So a couple of players for the Lions in foul trouble, as Solibo cannot get this one. Instead, it's going to be marked with a foul. The air is continuing to add up here in front of a heavily Lane Tech crowd. There's a lot of alumni for Lane Tech who returned for this game. A pretty packed student section as well. They have not given that much for the fans to cheer about. Lincoln Park fans do, though, as Jalen Calloway to the basket finishes. And this will be Lincoln Park trying for their 3rd and 1 here of the second half. We're not even 5 minutes into the second half, and Callaway, who's been pretty quiet here, gets in for the 2, and now we'll see if he can finish the 3-point play. He does, and the lead up to 11 now, 41-30, 3:15, Lincoln Park on top of Lane Tech. Not what most people thought coming into this game. Head coach Antoine Jennings was pretty confident. I mean, he didn't say his team was going to win, but just talking with him last week, you could see he really knows his team. He's very confident in his squad. They've played a very tough schedule. They opened the season against a high 15-win, currently Hyde Park team. They went down to the Washington tournament, one of the hardest Thanksgiving tournaments in the country. They've played the gauntlet that is the Red Northwest, and then they've played teams like Proviso West, St. Rita, Hammond. It's been a tough schedule. Not a lot of teams could escape it with many more than 3 wins, and Lincoln Park showing tonight that they've learned a lot from that schedule. As a 3-ball off the mark, Scantlebury brings down the rebound, and a foul called, I believe, against Damian Pearson, who was allowed to check into the game now. There was some confusion earlier, possibly with his eligibility and being on the roster, but he will check in now. Get the foul. Oh, no, they called against Turner. Wow, Turner was not the closest player to the ball. I assume they called it on Pearson, but instead that is going to be a 3rd foul called against Chase Turner, and it was after Lane Tech got possession, they say. So the champions will be in the bonus for the final 11 minutes of gameplay here. 6:45 local time in Roscoe Village, about an hour into this one. Still a lot of game left as Lane Tech looks to eke their way back into this one. Scantlebury misses the front end of a 1-and-1, so will not get a second shot at it. Under 3 to play here from Lane Tech. Thanks for joining us. Alex Burstein on the call here from Lane Gymnasium. Pearson gets it near the logo. The young player passes it off to Barry. Almost a turnover there. Salivo playing very aggressively, and I think this is something Lane Tech is going to be very important for Lane Tech. A couple of times recently when Lane has fallen behind, as an offensive foul is going to be called here, we've seen Salivo really start to force up shots, take almost all the shots for Lane Tech, and even though he's making some of them, it's just this team to win, they really need to balance out their offensive production. So if Lane Tech is able to see that, not kind of panic, there's still a lot of game time left. That's going to be one of their keys to working back from this 11-point deficit. They trailed by 4 at the half. Since then, it has been a 13-6 run for the Lions as they inbound it to Williams. Now to Labcon. He's open for the 3. Has made 3 shots. Make it 4 and 1. Jackson Labcon with the play of the day for Lane Tech, and we'll see if that's the momentum booster they need. 41-33 can cut it to a 7-point game. Labcon really had to rush that shot to make it, and he is now up to 9 points on the night. Timeout called by Lincoln Park, and Jackson Labcon, have yourself a career day. He'll try to complete the 3-point play out of the timeout that was charged against Lincoln Park, I believe, and we'll see. We were just talking about this game has not had a lot of runs. Lincoln Park had that run, and now we'll see if Lane Tech can work one back themselves. But Labcon, who had a couple of more disappointing games than he would have hoped against his old school, St. Ignatius, did not score, only had 5 against Schurz, but he's had some impressive games this year. I believe his high on the season is 10 points, and he's very close to matching that total. It has been a very important 10 points as he is trying to become the second player today for Lane Tech to get into double digits. That one kind of got the crowd back into it. It had been a quiet couple of minutes here at Lane Gymnasium, but erupted after that and 1-3 from Jackson Labcon, and we'll see if he can complete the 4-point play here. Labcon heads to the line alongside on the court for Lane Tech, Williams, Solido, Soar, and Dalton Scantlebury. And he does. Perfect shot there from Jackson Labcon. 10 points for him. And 2:20 now to go here in the third quarter. Labcon now helps get the turnover. So Lebo to the basket and one. Another and one. Blocking foul called against Samaji Howard. And just like that, we go from 11-point lead for the Lions. 2 and ones later, and Lane Tech can cut this to a 4-point lead with 2:17 to go here in quarter number 3. Talk about momentum boost. I mean, basketball is just such a crazy game, and how 1 or 2 shots can really change the way a game looks. So Lebo unable to complete the 3-point play, but still just a 5-point game. Scantlebury trying for another block here tonight, but he gets called for the over-the-back foul, and it will be Howard heading to the line. Lincoln Park is over the limit on fouls here in just the third quarter. Referees' whistles have been very friendly here tonight, and that's a big foul for the champions. So that's Scantlebury's 4th. He checks out of the game for Drew Bartoli. He has just 1 foul left to give. I imagine we will not see him return this quarter, possibly in the 4th if they really need him, but they're going to send Bartoli, who had a couple of good shots in the first half, into, I guess, play the 5 role. He's played as a 4 almost all season long, but now he comes in as a 5. 42-36, 2:11 to go. Lincoln Park got the lead here in the third quarter. Jack Soar is going to burn a timeout. Very interesting there. I think he had a couple more seconds to try to throw it away. And with that, Lane Tech's only going to have 2 timeouts left in the game. I believe it was a 30-second timeout, but an interesting move there for the senior captain for Lane Tech. And let's see, I mean, when you get down to late game scenarios, Lane Tech has the advantage right now in fouls, as they are going to be shooting double bonus. Right now, Lincoln Park not even in the bonus yet. When it comes to timeouts, though, Lincoln Park has 3 left, including, I want to say, 2 full timeouts. Lane Tech, meanwhile, only has 2 left in the game, and still 10 minutes and 11 seconds worth of game time left to go. It's going to be a late night here at Lane Gymnasium, 6:50 p.m. local time, Roscoe Village. Got started about 40 minutes late because of a jersey. Well, first it was a bus coming late to Lincoln Park. Then it was they forgot their jerseys at the school. We finally got underway, and it has well been worth it. The first 22 minutes of this one has been very exciting, and we hope you stay with us for the last 10 as Lincoln Park looks for what would be a marquee game win over Lane Tech. We kind of talked about this earlier. This game has major ramifications when it comes to who's moving up, or excuse me, who's staying in the red and who might get demoted next year. Jack Soar trying to inbound it, and once again, he can't get it off. This time he does not burn a timeout, and instead it is going to be Lincoln Park basketball. So another costly turnover here for the champions. The Lions get it underneath their scoring baskets. They inbound it to Turner, who now gives it to Pearson, who will reset the offense. Lincoln Park in no rush. They were rushing it for a couple of minutes, saw their lead kind of evaporate. Now just a 6-point lead as the 2 no good, and now we'll see if Lane Tech can further come to this one. They won't. Instead, it is a wide open dunk by Callaway. Jalen Callaway. The first dunk of the night for either squad. 100 seconds to go. Bartoli takes it to the basket. Can't finish with the 2. Will head to the line for 2 free throws, but an electrifying play there from Jalen Callaway. Lane Tech had a lot of momentum after those couple of and one plays got taken away when they could not inbound the basketball, and Lincoln Park capitalizes with a monster jam from the 6'2 senior point guard. In my notes I have he dunked on a 6'7 guy at the Ridgewood Summer Shootout this year. He's an athletic guy and shows it there as Drew Bartoli hits the front end of his free throws. That was the 4th foul called against Chase Turner. Going to keep him into the game, but he's running into some foul trouble here. 44-37, the lead for Lincoln Park. 1:38 to play here in the third quarter. Bartoli goes 2 for 2 from the line and lead back down to 6. Salibo trying for the turnover. Turner with some troubles here will finally get up with it, and they get it across just before there was a violation for them not bringing it up in time. Lane Tech got a couple chances on that possession to get possession back. Won't get there though. 44-38. 80 seconds left here in quarter number 3 of play. There's been a lot of emotions here in the third quarter. We saw the big run by Lincoln Park. They were up by as many as 11 or 12. Lane Tech with a couple of big plays to get back in this one, and we sit at a 6-point game with 1:11 left. So it's very reminiscent of the last time these two teams played. It was one of the first games of the 2021 COVID season. Ended up being a 40-39 win for Lane Tech, but it was a very close one. Lane looked like they were going to lose one of their early season games, but they were just able to pull off the victory as this one straight into the hands of Callaway. Can he do it again? He cannot. Went for the layup there, but Kelly there for the and one. Referees are calling any contact possible here tonight as a foul. I think the players on both the squads have kind of realized that. That's going to be team foul number 7 on Lane Tech. So it is going to be bonus for both squads, double bonus for Lane Tech, at least just for Lane Tech. We'll see if Lincoln Park gets that, as he will make the free throw, and it's back up to a 9-point lead now here quickly for Lincoln Park. Williams decides to break the press all by his own, and that's one of the more successful times they have done it tonight, and another whistle blown here, and that should be double bonus. Saying he's inbounding it. That was team foul number 11 on the champions. Maybe they said just went out of bounds. So it will be possession for Lane Tech. 59.3 seconds to go here in the third quarter. Labcon from the corner again. He's hot but cannot hit his second straight three. And a foul called on Lane Tech. Dylan Pepper will check into the game. You look at the scoreboard right now here at Lane Gymnasium. Mosaic of many players who are almost in foul trouble or are in foul trouble. That one was called against Bartoli, his first. There's 3 on Scanterbury, 2 on Salibo for Lincoln Park, 3 on Whitfield, 3 on Kelly, who makes the front end of a 1-and-1. When I said we'll see if Lincoln Park gets into the double bonus about 10 seconds ago, it seemed a little far-fetched, but now they just need to get fouled 2 more times in these last 54.1 seconds. Salibo brings down the rebound, gets it to Williams, down low to Labcon, and Kelly breaks it up. I think he stepped out of bounds, though. They will say that, and the champions will keep possession. So the third season Antoine Jennings has been head coach of this Lincoln Park squad. A losing record, but they've seen some progress as Salibo gets the quick 2 underneath. This would be probably one of the bigger wins of his tenure, a rivalry victory in enemy territory if he's able to pull it out. 48-40, 40 seconds to go here in the third quarter of action. Williams guarding Whitfield, who's in with 3 fouls. We'll send it to Callaway on the far side. Looks like the Lions will hold for a final shot. 20 seconds and change left to go here in the quarter. Should be an exciting fourth quarter yet. We'll see if the Lions can extend their lead here at the end of quarter number 3. 10 seconds now and counting. Whitfield takes it to the basket, finishes with the 2. Lane trying to get one final shot off. They pass it to Williams. Williams pulls for the long 2, can't get it to go. And it's a double-digit lead for the Lions as we head to quarter number 4 of play. 50-40, the Lincoln Park Lions lead the Lane Tech champions here as we enter the final frame of play. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Lane Tech boys basketball here on the Lane Tech Athletics YouTube channel. To the final quarter of regulation we head here at Lane Gymnasium. It's a 50-40 lead for the Lincoln Park Lions over Lane Tech. Still anyone's game. A couple of fans heading home early, but this could be an exciting fourth quarter. We'll see if Lincoln Park Lions can pull off a big upset, get their second win on the conference year, get to 4-10 overall, which would drop Lane Tech to 1-3 in conference play, and put Lane Tech at serious risk of getting demoted at the end of the season, or if Lane Tech can pull off a double-digit fourth quarter comeback, it'll probably be equally as impressive. Both teams are in bonus. We'll take you through the scoreboard right now. 50-40, the lead for Lincoln Park. 10 fouls over the limit for the Lions, so Lane is in double bonus. 8 fouls for the champions, so it's the single bonus for the Lions as Whitfield goes up for the 2 and gets it to go. Whitfield now with 13 points on the night, and a foul called here very early on. Fouls have really been the story of today for both of these teams, as well as all errors for the champions. I mean, fouls have just been one part of it. We saw a lot of travels called against them in the first half, some just throwing the ball away as Pepper will hit the first shot. They're going to have to play a lot more mistake-free basketball here in the last 7:46 of regulation to stay in this one against the Lions. Second shot, no good from Pepper. And Salibo trying to fight for the rebound, and they say that went off of Lincoln Park. Looked like from our angle it went off a Lane player last. However, the referees will agree with the Lane players, and the champions will keep possession. Labcon in the other corner. Hit one big 3, hits a second. That is now 13 points for Jackson Labcon, I believe a career high, as he cuts it to an 8-point game. Kelly trying to get 2 of those points back quickly, and he does. The rim very friendly to Vincent Kelly there. Went around the rim and finishes with the 2. The JV call-up has been very impressive here tonight. 7:15 to go here underneath the basket. Williams adds to another big night for him. He has 12 points. Just 4 of those have come in the second half. He could be due for another big quarter. Kelly again to the basket, gets fouled. Pepper's going to be charged with the foul. That's going to be the 4th, it looks like, on him today. And this presents a bit of a problem. Lane Tech has really only operated with 2 players playing the 5 spot this year, that being Dylan Pepper and Dalton Scantlebury. They both have 4 fouls now with 7:04. The referees have been calling almost anything underneath the basket a foul, so you can't put that much, you can't say that much as bad against what Pepper and Scantlebury have done defensively, but they've not really adapted to that. They've each racked up the fouls, and because of that, it's going to be possibly have to be a small ball lineup for Lane Tech going forward as Kelly goes for 2. And even if there was this foul trouble, Lane's going to need some 3s. So I imagine they're going to have some shooters on the court soon. It's Pepper, Salibo, Labcon, Jack Soar, Parker Williams, your 5 on the court. Salibo swings in the corner to Williams. Jack Soar was open. Instead, they give it to Labcon. Another 3 and an air ball there for the junior transfer. 6:45 to go. It's a 10-point lead for the Lincoln Park Lions, trying for the win away. Labcon in transition, and he gets stripped there at the end by Turner, who is on the court with 4 fouls. Both these teams have a player on the court now with 4 fouls. And now Scantlebury is going to check in for Pepper alongside Aquino checking into the game for Labcon. Interesting. Labcon's been one of the better shooters here tonight. But after that miss, they sent him back to the bench. So a little bit of substituting here for Lane Tech. 6:28, trying to get some fresh legs on the court. Scantlebury sat out for most of the third quarter and the beginning of this fourth quarter with foul trouble as Salibo heaves up a long pass. That's what we call in elementary school basketball an Angry Birds pass, but makes up for it with a big block. He sent that one slamming back into the court. His second block here tonight. Possession will stay with Lincoln Park, but that kept an easy 2 points off the board for Lincoln Park, and Lane Tech will take anything they can get here with 6:12 to go in the fourth quarter. 7:03 local time. We've reached about the hour and 15-minute mark. Surprisingly, has not been a super long game, despite all the fouls and all the back and forth play. As Kelly's going to swing it here. Top of the key, it'll be Whitfield. Whitfield with 13 points, tied with Williams for the lead, and now he'll take the lead scoring title lead with another 2. He was very quiet in the first half, and a travel called here against Jack Soar. That is travel number 8 here today on Lane Tech. Timeout call by Lane Tech, their second to last of the night, and Jackson Labcom will check in for Jack Soar here momentarily after the timeout. 10 travels called here tonight between the two teams. 80% of those have gone against Lane Tech. If they scored on 5 or 6 of those possessions, this would be a tie game right now. So they have given up the chance to scoring opportunities on multiple possessions here today. And when they go back and watch the film from this one, you can tell they will definitely be looking at that as they prepare for another busy weekend of games. They travel for their first true away game of the year on Friday. Head up to Westinghouse, what should be a possibly competitive one, but Westinghouse has been pretty good this year. We'll take you through the standings right now in the Red Northwest. Young 3-0, Westinghouse 4-1, North Lawndale 3-1, Farragut 3-2, Orr and Lane both 1-2, Clark 0-2, Perspectives at 2-3, and Lincoln Park currently last in the conference at 1-3. Games tonight, Clark Perspectives at 5. This game obviously started 5:45. Orr was traveling to Young, Prosser the Farragut. And then probably the most intriguing game for me tonight in the conference, Westinghouse traveling to North Lawndale. The Warriors can get a win there. That would be big, as somehow Turner was left underneath the basket. He's been a dangerous scorer here tonight, up to 11 points there, but Lane Tech just had a defensive dropped assignment there. Salibo gets the 2 back quickly and will have a chance to make it an and 1. A trail by 12 to make it 11. Now 13 points on the night for Salibo. It's been 13 from Salibo, 13 from Williams, 12 from Williams, 13 from Labcon. As Salibo hits the free throw and will now take the lead in scoring for Lane Tech with 14 points. 11-point game, and we're finally seeing Lincoln Park kind of slow it down. They've been playing with a very fast-paced offense here tonight. I think they realize up by 5 possessions, they don't have to rush it. They're trying to bounce pass there to Justice Berry. However, it heads out of bounds, and the champions will get it back. It was when it was an 11-point deficit that we saw the and 1 4-point play from Jackson Labcon, and then a 2 from Shahid Salibo to cut it to a 5-point game. But Lane Tech was not able to do much with that. And this time it's thrown away from Williams, thrown off the chest of Salibo, and possession will stay with the Lincoln Park Lions. Seen the coaching staff for Lane Tech tonight. A lot of hands on the head, a lot of yelling from head coach Nicholas Lagalvo, as they are on high upset alert now with 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Thanks for joining us. Alex Burstein on the call here from Lane Gymnasium. Student section has started to clear out here, but besides that, most of the fans have stayed in their seats here at Lane Tech, as we will see the first travel called of this half against Lincoln Park. That's their 3rd of the game. Been the main stat we've been tracking here tonight, just because early on we could tell that there was going to be a lot of those called tonight against Lane Tech. That has ended up being the case. Williams breaks the press with ease. Aquino looking for his first 3 of the night, but airballs that one. It was a good-looking shot out of his hands, however, travels just a little too far. Salibo tried to strip the ball out of the hands there of Kelly, Instead, a foul is going to be called. That earns him a high five from head coach Jennings. They've been calling this diamond formation a couple of times after they get fouled to head to the line. Not sure what it means, but it's a work. They've done good on their free throws, and they've also gotten some good offensive rebounds off of missed free throw attempts. As Kelly hits the first of two. It is the double bonus now for both teams. Both teams over the limit with fouls. That foul was called against Solibo, his third of the night. Right now we have Scantlebury on the court with 4 fouls for the champions. We have Turner on the court with 4 fouls for the Lions. And also we have Barry with 4 fouls as Labcon misses the 3. He had that shot working in the third quarter. Has not worked as much in quarter number 4 as play, as Labcon dribbles this one off his foot. Seems like every time Lane Tech has a little bit of momentum, we saw that big block there. Stuff like that. It's been just a couple of seconds before Lane Tech finds some way to blow the momentum as Rosenkrantz checks into the game for Labcon. Rosenkrantz, one of the shorter players listed on our roster at 5'11", but he really knows how to shoot the 3 ball. As a foul called here. Lane Tech wanted a travel called, but the referees did not see that. They did see contact called, and it's going to be big who they called it against. It's Solibo. So Solibo now with 4 fouls. We have seen him foul out once this year against Farragut. Went into overtime. He fouled out in the overtime period. Had technical in that one as well. And after he fouled out, everything went downhill for the champions. So with 4:05 to play. So another player on the court with foul trouble. A game like this where you're seeing over 20 fouls called, and I think each of the half. That's kind of what you come to expect. Lots of foul trouble. It's not a single player on the court with less than 2 fouls for the Lions, but right now it does not seem to matter. Whitfield goes 1 for 2 from the line and for his 16th point of the night. Very impressive play from the senior, and we reach the 4-minute mark to go. A 13-point deficit now for the champions. Solibo goes up for the 2. Barry's going to get called for the foul, and that should be his 5th. I think he's going to have to check out of the game here. We'll see if the referees notice it. There's a couple times we don't. And see what the announcer says. Yes, that will be his 5th foul. So Justice Barry becomes the first player here today to foul out. I imagine it may not be the last player we see here today foul out, but he will be the first. And in for him is going to be Durham. Interesting. Dakari Durham was a starter in both the first and the second half, but besides from that, he's not played a lot. Had, I think, 2 points early on in the first half, but he does just have 1 foul, so I guess that's one of the pluses of playing him in right now, as Solido hits the front end of the double of the shooting foul shots. 12-point game, still a lot of time left, 3:54. Problem is, we'll see if Lane Tech can keep the Lions from scoring on a couple straight possessions. There's a big offensive rebound there from Williams. He cuts up the middle, looking for the 2, instead Solibo. Quick 3, gets it to go. Back to a single-digit lead now for Lincoln Park, 62-53, 3:40 to go. Blocked by Dalton Scantlebury. Aquino's going to push it in transition. They get to Solibo again. Thought about the 3. Rosenkrantz is there for the quick fire 3. Can't get to go. That would have sent Lane Tech into major shearing. Instead, it's going to be a foul called against Parker Williams, his 2nd of the night. And it will in turn lead to free throws because Durham had pulled down the rebound first. So big foul there. Lane Tech had the chance to cut that to a 6-point lead. Instead, it will be Durham with a chance to move it to as much as 11. Solibo, Aquino, Williams, Dalton Scantlebury, and Will Rosenkrantz, your 5 on the court for the champions. 3:27 to go. They trail 63-53 after the first shot is made here from Durham. He makes a second one as well. So a 64-point game so far for Lincoln Park. Trying to look through these scores really quickly. I'm not sure Lane Tech has won a game where they have given up this many points. As another turnover here, but luckily heading out of bounds there with the ball was Kelly. So Lane Tech will keep possession. In their loss to Prosser, they gave up 63, 60 to Lamont, 59 to Farragut, 61 to West Aurora. They gave up, they have not had a game where they've given up this many points and won. Defense has been a real struggle for Lane Tech here today. They found some ways to score. They balanced out the scoring a little bit here in the second half, but the defense has been the real problem here today for the champions. Scantlebury gets it down low, goes up for the quick two. He has to play carefully with those 4 fouls, making sure not to swing any elbows or anything, but he gets the clean 2 in there and cuts it back to a 9-point game. 3 minutes to play. Lane Tech starting to press. The problem here with Lane, you can't really foul. There's a lot of good free throw shooters on this team, and also they get 2 tries no matter what, and that will be an accidental foul. See who they mark it against. Salibo kind of ran away from the ball, and if that is marked on him, he is going to foul out. That will be. So Shahid Salibo fouls out for the second time this season. Jackson Labcon will check into the game for him, and Salibo will exit the game with an 18-point performance. That's the most we have seen out of a player here today. There's been 16 from Whitfield. He's able to score anymore, has a chance to take over that lead. It was Jackson Labcon who checked in for Salibo. Between Labcon, Williams, and Salibo, they've combined for 43 of the 55 points. Lane Tech got lucky with a rare miss from the free throw line there by Chase Turner. He's another one of these players staying in the game with 4 fouls. Takes a second shot, rattles around the rim, and falls in. So 10-point game, 2:57 to go. Lane Tech no longer within single digits of this Lincoln Park team. They've had a couple of tries to cut it open, but once Lincoln Park made that one big run, as another travel called here against Lane Tech, once Lincoln Park made that one big run at the start of the third quarter, they've done a very good job of keeping this one in wraps. They've had a couple of times, the most Lane Tech cut it to was a 5-point deficit, but very soon after they extended the lead back out to 11 points. There just has not been a lot of chances for Lane Tech to get back in this one, and travels like that are not going to do it. They double team Durham, throw it into the hands of Labcon. 2:30 to play. Williams underneath the basket, tries for the reverse 2, can't get it. Scantlebury can't get it. Might need a 3 now. Rosenkrantz pulls for 3, gets it to go. Will Rosenkrantz with his first shot of the night made. And a 7-point game now. This one not quite over, but what an acrobatic finish there from Whitfield. Ties for the scoring lead here today with 18 points. Almost a turnover here. They're going to have to rush together across midcourt. Labcon gets it, quickly passes it to Scantlebury. Instead, it's a turnover. 9-point lead for the Lions. 2 minutes to play. Kelly tries to work his way to the basket. They throw it out to Callaway. Callaway not had a super high score. He's had 10 points. It's been a quiet 10 points, but he's found other ways to contribute for this team. That should be a backcourt violation. Lane Tech head coach Nicholas Legabo furious that that wasn't called, and instead it will be a full timeout called by head coach Antoine Jennings. And with 106 of the clock left in this game, it is a 67-58 game. And now we will see. Right now, I think it just comes down to if this Lane Tech team is able to outcoach. If this Lane Tech team is able to outcoach Lincoln Park, I think that's the only way they work their way back into this one. They're going to have to find ways to score and get the ball back without fouling. No shot clock, so Lincoln Park can take time on possessions. They haven't really done that much here today, but if Lincoln Park's able to take 30 seconds off their next 2-3 possessions. This one could very well be over, even if Lane Tech's able to make a couple of shots, because best case scenario, Lane goes on a 9-0 run with 3 made threes, but we've seen Lane Tech, I think back to that game against Farragut, they were chucking up threes late and just nothing was fouling. They've had trouble closing out games. Westinghouse too, they've had trouble closing out games. Talking to Westinghouse, he's talking about his team just learning to believe in themselves, closing out some of these games. They had close ones, as you mentioned, against Westinghouse and North Lawndale, but this is their best chance yet to get a big conference win. 90 seconds now left. There was a chance for Lane Tech to get possession back there, but it will not pan out, and Callaway will start dribbling away. Down low, bumping his man, and finishing with the 2 is Durham. That's an 11-point lead for the Lions, 69-58. And this one might be wrapped. Almost picked off there by Whitfield. Goes out of bounds on the Lions, so Lane will keep possession, but now just 70 seconds in, and we're seeing substitutes come into the game. And I think this is the first time today we have seen Jalen Dickerson check in. A young player wearing number 21. As well, Callaway comes back from the bench. He was there for a second, might have been fixing his shoe or something, but he comes back onto the court. Braden Rosenkrantz gets it to Bartoli, swinging some elbows there, and a foul's going to be called against Turner, I believe. This is going to be, oh no, instead they're going to call against, let's see who they call that against. They're going to put no one inside the paint to rebound except Vincent Kelly here. Not sure if that was call against Turner. That would be his 5th foul. Instead, it's going to be Bartoli. And no, they're going to instead call against Will Grieve, number 10, into the game, who gets his 1st foul. As Bartoli hits the first shot. They gave the foul to number 10. There's not a number 10 on the court right now for this Lincoln Park team. So I think they might have just lucked out. I believe the referees may have seen the 12 as a 10. Turner will check out of the game either way. As that free throw from Bartoli cut it to a 10-point game. But lucky break there from the Lions. Bartoli looking to make this a 2-for-2 trip. He will. 9-point game, 69-60, 1:02 to play. Lane trying to be careful not to foul as they try to force this turnover. Bartoli just ran into the scorer's table, fell very quickly to the ground, holding his knee, but got back up quickly. So Bartoli playing with a lot of energy. He's had a couple of nice baskets early on in this one. Has played some very good defense here in the second half, but currently not enough. It's a 9-point lead for the Lions, and Lane's finally going to resort to fouling them. Based on head coach Nicholas Legalba's reaction, that might have been an accident, as it'll be Vincent Kelly heading to the line. Bartoli gets tagged with his 2nd free throw, with his 2nd foul of the game. And it'll be Kelly, who we have not been keeping track of how many times he's been to the line, but it's been a lot. Misses the front end of the 2 shots, but we'll get a 2nd one either way. I'll be very interested looking at the stats about the free throw differential from these teams. I mean, there's a good chance that this 9-point lead for Lincoln Park may have just been made up with free throws. They've been pretty productive, 1 for 2, 2 for 2 on a lot of their trips to the free throw line. As the lead up to 10 after that 2nd made shot. Kelly fighting on the ground for it. Bartoli comes up with it. Scantlebury down low, goes up for the 2 and gets it to go. Lane Tech not giving up on this one, but 40 seconds left, and a travel's going to be called. So we'll have a chance to cut this to maybe a 5-point game with about 37.2 seconds left. That's the 4th foul called, the 4th travel call against Lincoln Park here today. They've had 9 travels called against Lane, 4 against Lincoln Park. That's 13 combined travels in an IHSA varsity game. Not something you're going to see a lot, but Lane has had the more ones called against them. It's definitely killed momentum a couple of times. And right now, momentum, something Lane Tech really needs. Just under 40 seconds to play. They trail by 8. And they're at risk of dropping to 1-3 in conference play. And looking at the standings right now, this will move them to probably the bottom of the conference. They do have the tiebreaker over Perspectives, but Perspectives has 2 wins. Clark is winless so far in conference play, but they've only played 2 games. They might get a forfeit win over Whitney Young. And then Orr 1-2. That's going to be a big matchup next week against Orr for the champions. And then Prosser, who is another squad that I believe just has 1 win. And that 1 win's over Lane Tech, so they have the tiebreaker. So by the end of tonight, if this result holds, Lane Tech is going to find himself in a position where if the season ended today, they would be getting regulated to the White Conference. Has not happened in a few years as Rosenkrantz pulls for 3, can't get to go. We'll see if Lane Tech fouls or not. This one pushed out of bounds off the hands of a diving Scantlebury, as they're going to send Durham into the game alongside Whitfield. It's Whitfield, Durham, Kelly, Callaway, and Turner, the 5 on the court for the Lions, trying to finish this one off. Rosenkrantz, Williams, Bartoli, Aquino, and Scantlebury as Bartoli picks off this inbound pass, pulls for 3, no foul called, and the 3 off the mark. Durham pulls down the 3, 23 seconds and counting. Lane Tech, this one thrown away, but Turner chases that one down. They get to Whitfield, spins around, 14 seconds left, and Kelly finishes with the 2, and that should put the bow on top of this one. 7 seconds left. Williams pushes it up the court. Will finish with a last 2 to get to 14 points on the night. And an upset win here on this Wednesday night from Lane Gymnasium, 72-64, your final score. The Lane Tech champions fall to the Lincoln Park Lions. What a game here. I mean, so many things to keep note of. We saw 9 travels called against Lane Tech, just 4 against Lincoln Park. We saw 2 players foul out. Salibo fouled out. We also saw Barry foul out for Lincoln Park. Salibo had 18 points, not enough. Other big games from Williams and Labcon, but just Lincoln Park team, they came in tonight, only won 1 conference game, 3 games on the season. They're going to exit tonight with 4 wins, 2 wins on the conference season, and Lane Tech now 1-3 on the year in conference play. This team's going to need some major changes if they want to stay up in the Red Conference this year. We'll be back on the air on Friday night for a 5 p.m. tip-off over at Westinghouse. Pregame should be getting rolling around 4:55, and then Saturday, Lane Tech heads to Ohio. So a busy weekend coming up for the champions, but first they will look to come back from this loss. Your final score from Lane Gymnasium, it's the Lincoln Park Lions 72, the Lane Tech champions 64. For our cameraman here tonight, Nathan Nowak, my name's Alex Burstein. Good night.